This looks like a job for Superman.
Hey guys, Rez the Collector here with another Superman related review. Today we're looking at the Superman as Nightwing figure. Now, of course, this isn't the Nightwing that you're normally familiar with, which is Dick Grayson, but this is actually where Dick Grayson got the name. Um, only Nightwing I have is the Little Injustice Nightwing, I mean, other than this one. But there you go, there's Grayson Nightwing. Uh, This is Superman in an identity he took up in the bottle city of Kandor. And he had a sidekick, just like Batman has Robin, because as you can see, this is kind of a Batman-based costume. His sidekick was Flamebird, which was Jimmy Olsen. And of course, there have been a few different versions of Nightwing and Flamebird. I think most recently during the Return of Krypton storyline, where Superman was all joining the Kryptonian armor and whatnot, or army and whatnot. But the original was Superman was basically framed for a crime, and I can't remember what the crime was while in the city of Kandor. Now, of course, while in the city, he has absolutely no superpowers, and he couldn't go around as himself as Kal-El or Superman because, of course, he was being hunted by Kandorian authorities. So what he did was he adopted the name of Nightwing, and Jimmy Olsen became Flamebird. And of course, he had no powers, but as you can see, that belt there is actually a rocket belt that allowed him to fly around. And then, of course, when Dick Grayson decided to become Nightwing, and I'm not sure if this was a story at the time, but of course, this is what has been said since. I do have where he gave up Robin and became Nightwing. I have those, and I have those signed by George Perez, which is very cool. That was the Judas contract, Teen Titans, just if you want to know. He took the name Nightwing in homage, or whatever you want to say, to Superman as Nightwing in the city of Kandor. I'm just going to go ahead and move the old Grayson Nightwing back into the Batman cabinet here. Now that we have a little backstory on this figure, why he's dressed this way, let's take a look at the figure itself. This is from the History of DC line from DC Direct. I got this as a really good price. I'd stopped into, I'm not going to call a local comic shop because technically it's like an hour away from where I live, but it's my hometown, and we were there doing something, and I stopped at the comic shop, and they had these on the wall, and they had this one. They had Martian Manhunter. They had Nathaniel Adams, Adam when he still looked like a human and just wore a goofy-looking outfit, and a couple other the figures from this line. But this is the only one I would have picked up. It was the only one, of course, Superman related, and I got them for like 10 or 12 bucks, something like that. So I was really happy with the deal, and I got him home, and I opened him up. And I think this is one of the last figures from DC Direct. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because this figure isn't that old, that came with a stand. But it wasn't anything like this. The stand, of course, that you see here is from the Superman. From Return? Oh no, it's just from the Superman carded with the blue S's. He came with a basic black stand, and it is that stand is in no way suitable for this figure. I mean, a basic black stand is fine, but it's small. I actually use it for my Kingdom Come Kid Flash because she in no way can stand. But this figure is the worst balanced figure that I own. This is the biggest pain in the ass in my collection. Even with a stand, he falls over because he is so back heavy. And in my mini collection video, I talked about the sculpt, and it's not really the sculpt. There's some weirdness going on with the sculpt. Don't get me wrong. We're going to look at that. But it's not the sculpt. It's the cape. Now, I've seen some capes make a figure back heavy, but nothing like this. This cape, one, is enormous, and two is just, I mean, a cape can be a big cape and still not be heavy, but this cape is just, I would say the cape, if you remove the cape from the figure itself and weighed them both, the cape would most likely far, far, far outweigh the figure. Look at how thick this cape is. And just imagine, I mean, look at the size of it. Because it's not just a, a thin, straight down cape. It's a big, just billowing cape. And at how thick that cape is. I mean, look at that thing. And it puts so much weight on this figure that he is impossible to stand. There is no way to get this figure to stand upright. Even when you put him on a stand. My background's going wacky on me here. Even when you put him on a stand, I can get him on there. Kind of reaching way in front of the camera to do this, which is why I'm not doing it very well. What the heck is the hole in this thing? Okay, so I've got him on the stand. Now, even with him being on the stand, it's going to end up tipping back, because even as it is now, yeah, the peg will hold him in place, but that's going to be the only thing generally that's holding him, because you'll see his feet basically fall all the way back to where just a slight part of the peg is holding him there, and then eventually the entire stand will tip backwards. It happens every time. The only thing I found to do with this figure is I've taken him and I've actually hung him up in a flying position, not a straight like Superman flight like this, but kind of, because he's got rockets, kind of like this, where he was just kind of flying straight up, and kind of had him flying like that. But again, he's so heavy that a lot of the times the suction cup that I used, that would end up popping off. And I've got some ones that are for heavier weights. But right now, I've had him recently not in the flying pose, but just kind of leaned up against something, because that's all you're going to get to do. And it's sad because this figure has tight joints. Most of the time when you have to lean a figure or do something like that, it's because the figure is so loose, the joints are so loose, that's why they won't stand. But on him, it's just the stupid cape. So I've taken to leaning him. Now, on his own, with no stand, the only way to get, there's a couple different things you can do. For anybody who picks up this figure, you can kind of put him in a crouched leg band, and if you extend the cape back, the cape actually can kind of work as a stand, and it'll hold him up. Basically, you kind of put him in like a triangle position, where he's braced on basically the back of his heels and the cape. So you can do it that way, or the only other thing you can really do with him is basically having him bend over like he's trying to touch his toes, and there you go. That's basically where you have to put him in order to get him to stand. So not a whole lot of options with this guy, but let's take a look at the sculpting, because there are some oddities here. I do like the face sculpt. The mask makes it look a little weird, but I like the face sculpt itself. It is definitely Superman. Of course, we've got the little hair curl, and we've got the chin. Now, I think that there should be some eyebrow coming in under this mask, considering how far up on the forehead they go. He's missing some eyebrow here that I think should be there. So the head sculpt itself is nice. Now, one of the big oddities I found with this figure is the neck. For some reason, I think of this as kind of like a turtleneck, because the way his body is, the head's like extended, and then it's like pushed forward. And I don't really understand the thinking on that, unless they were trying to somehow balance this cape. And I really don't think that was what they were doing, because when it would have been like this coming from the sculptor, and I very much doubt whoever sculpted this had a cape of this weight on the figure. They would, of course, sculpted a cape, but it's up to the manufacturer what kind of materials that they actually used when they did it. And the thickness that was used, I mean, that may have come from the sculptor, but I'm going to go with the manufacturer here on why this cape is so heavy. So I'm definitely thinking that this wasn't trying to correct the balance issues. This is just a really weird neck. I don't understand why they went with it so extended forward. It's really long, and it's like he's pushing his head forward, and it's really, really odd. It kind of gives him a really hunched over look. I mean, even if you straighten out his abs, my stupid review area keeps wanting to come down on me. All right, even if you straighten up his abs, I mean, it's still with his neck that way. It gives him this really weird hunched over look. I mean, it almost gives him like a boxer look, and maybe that's what they were going for, because this is a Superman with no powers. And I don't really recall the comic. I have read it, but it's been so long. And I know that he would have had to, if any altercation he would have got into, would have been a fist fight, and not a normal fist fight for Superman where it's one punch and done, but a fight where he actually had to fight. And maybe they were going for more of a boxer's stance with this, but it just, that weird neck sculpt just gets me. And then again with the rest of the body, because it does, it gives him kind of like a boxer's look. And trust me, I like, kind of like, I've got him in this position now, and this is the first time I've ever had him in kind of like a boxer's stance, and I do like it. I kind of like the way the boxer stance looks on him. Of course, you're never going to get him to stand this way, but I mean, that is a cool pose right there. If you could somehow get him to stand without basically gluing his feet to whatever he's standing on, this would be a very cool pose to have him in. But just the way that neck is, pushing the head forward, the way that the body is sculpted, the torso is sculpted, gives him just a very, sorry about that, gives him a very Igor-ish look. Kind of hunched over, and yes. So just odd. Now the rest of the sculpting, when you get down to the rest of the body, is very nice. I mean, I do like the ab crunch and all, but I really like this belt. This belt is sculpted really, really well. I really like the look of it. I mean, it looks like a machine. It looks like something that's going to be, something that's going to be propelling him. And then the rest of the costume is basically just a basic body style. Looking at the arms, of course, he does have fins here, kind of like Batman. As I said earlier, this is a very Batman-esque costume. Kind of where he took his kind of ideas from. He just didn't go with the cowl, and instead of a bat, he went with the Nightwing thing. But as you can see, we've got the fins here, and just one fin here on the arm, and then we've got that again repeated on the legs. So it's a very cool look. It's just the figure is just severely unbalanced and somewhat sculpted strangely. But let's take a look at articulation on him. He, of course, does have a ball-jointed head, so we do get some decent movement there, up, down, side to side, left to right. He does have a ball joint in the shoulder and swivel at the bicep, as well as a bend at the elbow. And he has a forearm rotation instead of, oh no, he's got wrist too. So he's got forearm rotation and wrist rotation. So we've got a lot of articulation in this arm alone. We've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of articulation just in one arm. So he's got a lot of good articulation. He, of course, does have an ab crunch, and that does swivel as well. No other waist rotation here other than the crunch and swivel there. We do have, of course, hip, and that's about as far back as we're going to get, but we get really nice forward. There is no thigh rotation whatsoever. We do have knee, and then we've got shin, and just shin. No boot rotation or ankle rocker. And actually, ankle rockers might actually have helped this character as long as they were strong, tight joints, because we could have kind of rocked the rockers forward and helped him balance. And I know that actually helps in some of the figures, like the Mattel Batman Arkham Origins. The ankle rockers actually help him out, because he is back heavy again. Just like this figure, his cape is very heavy. But, I mean, overall, he's not one of my favorite figures. I got him because it was a cheap DC Direct Superman figure, just in a variant costume. And as you all know, I do love variants. but he's not a figure that ever gets put to the front of the display case. He's always kind of shunted to the back for a couple of reasons. One, he has to have a stand, or he has to be leaning on something, and I don't want him leaning on another figure, because he is one of those figures that will take down your entire display. He will just fall, and this big billowing cape will take out like 5 figures behind him, and then there's just the whole horrible domino effect. So even if he was a favorite figure, he still wouldn't be near the front. He would still be in the back, basically leaning against a pole and kind of looking creepy. Like, hey, how you doing? Alright, that was uncalled for, I'm sorry. So yeah, he's going to go in the display case. He's probably going to end up going at the bottom, because I really, like I said at the end of the collection, little mini collection thing I did, I really I kind of forgot about him when I set up all the other figures in my new layout, and there's really not a place for him on the cool set shelf. He's basically going to go to the bust down shelf on the bottom. So that will be his new home. Him and his oversized, extremely heavy cape. But this was Rez the Collector. I want to thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. I do have some more reviews coming up soon. I've got the Silver Age Superman from the Lois Superman 2-pack. Picked him up loose from a gentleman on Facebook. He was my first Facebook deal with somebody I didn't know, and that went really well. He's got some condition issues, but we'll look at that when I do that one. And then I have a figure coming in the mail. Should be here tomorrow. And that has got to be the last figure I buy for a while, because I got to stop and save my money. But I'm also doing reviews on demand. This was kind of a review on demand, kind of, sort of. Just he was kind of mentioned that a review hadn't been done on him. But I also do reviews on demand, so if there's something you've seen in my collection and I haven't reviewed it, or if I have reviewed it and I missed something, or it's something you'd like to take a better look at, something that you want compared to something else, I think one of our jobs as collectors and as YouTubers is to really help out people who might be on the fence about picking something up. So if there's something you want to see, something you want compared, anything like that, I do reviews on demand, so please let me know and I will get that out for you. The person that brought up this figure was, of course, Jamie Evans, Facebook friend and a loyal subscriber on YouTube. So Jamie, of course, anything else you see, let me know. Again, this is Rez the Collector. I want to thank you for watching, and you have a very nice day.